Here's the thing. I'm driving in, listening to, and by the way, in ridiculous traffic. Like, I don't know what's gone on in this city here with the traffic, but when I leave my house on Long Island at 12 o'clock, it should not take me near 2 hours to get in to the city. It's ridiculous. But anyway, I'm driving in, listening to Tiki and Tierney. I'm thinking, okay, well, which way am I going to go with my open today? Because there's really no clear-cut, definitive open. Yeah, Yankees win last night. Aaron Judge, walk-off home run, big deal. It's against the Royals. As you know, it really shouldn't matter much what the Yankees do in the regular season by now against anybody. It's about what they do at the trade deadline. So there's obviously the trade deadline angle. And talking about that, and then we can think about Shohei Ohtani. And then I happen to scroll through my phone as I walk in here and see that the New York Post has an article about the Mets and Mark Vientos, one of their top prospects, using him potentially as a fallback option if they don't get a right-handed hitting DH at the trade deadline. And to me, that is unacceptable. This is not. See, we know the Yankees are going to go out there and get Luis Castillo. We know, obviously, the Yankees already added Ben Attendee and probably will do more, whether it's the bullpen, like I said, whether it's Castillo. And there are plenty of options for both sides. I mean, you could get into Ohtani and Soto. And I do think that, look, when a player like Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto are available, you do whatever you can as an organization to go get them. The Mets can't get Juan Soto because the Nationals aren't going to trade him in the division. But they could go out there and get Shohei Ohtani. So why mess around? Go get the guy. And by the way, he helps you obviously offensively and defensively. But now it sounds like the same old Mets where, why go get Shohei Ohtani when we could have Mark Vientos and call him up from AAA? This is the problem. You know, the Mets have to earn the trust of the fan base, right? And I do think that they did to a certain extent with Steve Cohen, hiring Buck Showalter, signing Max Scherzer. It's clearly different than it's been in years past. It's why I picked them to win the National League East, why I'm not worried about the Braves, why I thought it was important that they send a message to the Yankees in that Subway Series. But then when you read crap like I just read before about Mark Vientos being a fallback option in the event that the Mets can't get a right-handed hitting DH, that's unacceptable. That's minor league stuff. That's 2014 stuff. That is previous ownership stuff. The Mets need to go out there and get a DH. No excuses. And I'm not talking about just J.D. Martinez. I'm not talking about Trey Mancini. Figure it out. If you can't go get the big fish in Shohei Ohtani, which would be obviously the mega move. I mean, if the Mets want to be compared to the Yankees and the Dodgers, go make the big impact move. We're not talking about, they got Vogel back as a lefty side, and then Trey Mancini, he'll be the righty DH. And maybe the Mets can bring up Vientos if they need to, or maybe the Mets, hope to get James McCann back. No, you want to go win a World Series, you want to be taken legitimately on the level of those top teams that I mentioned, they need to go get a catcher, they need to go get a real DH, they need impact bats, and obviously, bullpen arms. I know Brian Cashman and the Yankees are going to do it. I don't know with certainty that the Mets are going to do it, and especially when I read crap like that Mark Vientos is the fallback option. Okay, so you're telling me the guy that they wouldn't call up for months when they actually needed a bat desperately, and by the way, they still do here. They're lucky that they held off the Braves to the extent that they did before the trade deadline, and they've been playing well, obviously, as of late, taking the sweep from the Yankees here, but the Mets clearly need a bat. And they're running J.D. freaking Davis out there every day. I can't stand watching J.D. Davis anymore. Matter of fact, the best part about the trade deadline is that I don't have to see J.D. Davis in a Met uniform ever again. I can't wait for Tuesday at 6 o'clock. I've already had enough of Dom Smith. He's gone. Don't have to worry about him anymore. So they desperately needed the bat. And the only reason why there was even talk about bringing up Alvarez or Vientos was because twofold. One, the Mets were struggling offensively. Actually, it's threefold. One, the Mets were struggling offensively. Two, those guys were raking. Three, they are at positions of need, where maybe Escobar was struggling at third, so you want Vientos. Obviously, the Mets have they have not had anything offensively from catcher or DH, which is where Alvarez ties in. You could have also used Vientos as DH. So you get the point. That's why there was, because at a time where a team should be competing for a World Series, where the Mets are one of the best teams in baseball all year long, as they've been, you shouldn't be worrying about who's coming up from the minor leagues. But that was the case. And to the Mets' credit, they stood pat. Don't worry about it. We'll be fine. And they have been fine. They didn't need to call those guys up. Well, now that should be over. Now, as we get closer to the trade deadline, the thought of bringing Alvarez or Vientos up, it should be irrelevant. They should be going out there looking to load up this roster, not, you know what, our fallback option is going to be bringing up Vientos. Oh, the same guy you wouldn't bring up months ago, now you're going to bring him up down the stretch here, going to the postseason? I don't think so. I don't think so. Unacceptable. Now, I don't believe deep down that that's going to happen. I do believe the Mets are going to get a DH. And I'll tell you, I don't even want Wilson Contreras. He can't catch. I want an actual DH and an upgraded catcher. As I've said it plenty of times before, J.D. Martinez, and we talked about this on the overnights, or one of our favorite callers, Doug on Long Island, brought this up months ago, early in the season, eyeing that the Red Sox, before they got back into it, when the Red Sox are going to be out, they could be a partner. Mets take on some money, Mets take on J.D. Martinez, and get Christian Vasquez as well. An actual catcher. You've seen what he could do when you watch him play against the Yankees. That would be an upgrade where you have a real DH in J.D. Martinez, and a catcher in Christian Vasquez, as opposed to, and I like David Robertson. I think he'd be a great fit, obviously, for either team in New York. He's been a Yankee before. He's pitched in high-pressure situations. Why not for the Yankees to go get David Robertson from the Cubs, where they could use another arm in the bullpen? And he'd work for the Mets. The Mets need somebody other than Edwin Diaz that they could trust in that bullpen. So I don't even want Contreras, and I don't love the idea of Mancini. To me, that's Sandy Alderson-ish. Okay, we'll get Vogelback and Mancini. Now, it's an upgrade, don't get me wrong, but I really do think Tiki and Tierney would be an upgrade over J.D. Martinez and Dom Smith in the DH spot. I mean, think about it. I would say myself, but I'm just solo here. Insert anybody. They'd be better than what the Mets have run out there at DH. So, yeah, Mancini and Vogelback would be an upgrade. Yes, I know Contreras would be an upgrade in that lineup offensively. The problem is you can't use him as a catcher the way that you would have liked to. For me, the advantage of getting an offensive catcher is to have him actually play catcher. Go get a DH and then upgrade catcher. So we've known that the Mets need to upgrade in multiple spots. We obviously know where the Yankees need to upgrade. Again, check one for the Yankees, where they already got their guy in Benintendi in the outfield. Check. Now Cashman can focus on, and look, maybe they have something bigger going on. Maybe they are trying to get, Ohtani or Soto. Who the hell knows? I would never count anything out with the Yanks. Ohtani be twofold. I know they got their outfielder now, but obviously they could use a number 2 pitcher behind Garrett Cole. Why not go all in and try to get him? For the Yanks, though, outside of Ohtani, and I don't know how realistic that is, the home run move, I don't want to hear about Syndergaard. I don't want to hear about any of the lesser guys. They got to go get Luis Castillo. Enough. He's under control for another year. He's dominant. You saw what he could do against the Yankees in the Bronx. He's ready. That guy's ready to be traded right now and make an impact on a team that could go win a World Series. So that should be the next move for the Yankees, and I think it will be. I have full confidence Brian Cashman and the Yankees are going to go out there and get Luis Castillo and then add a bullpen arm. Maybe not the household name, but look, they did it with Clay Holmes last year. Look what he's turned into. Yankees already got the outfielder. They'll get the starting pitcher. They'll get a bullpen arm. I thought the Mets were going to do the same. And I hope that we're not getting to a point where the Mets are reverting to their old ways, thinking, hey, you know what? Maybe we'll be okay. We get Trevor May back, get Jacob deGrom back. We have Vientos if we need to. Not going to overpay, because they keep talking about these damn prospects. Because last year they got burnt with Pete Crow Armstrong for Javi Baez. So now they're afraid to trade their prospects. I got news for you. It's a different year. If you didn't already know it, it's a different year. The Mets this year, as opposed to last year, have a legitimate shot. Go for it. Go all in. That means I don't want to hear the name Mark Vientos again unless it means he's being sent somewhere for a real major league bat. 877-337-6666. Ken is calling from Levittown. What's up, Ken?
How's it going, Sal? Well, first things first, love you, and you're hitting on all the points. That's the old Mets. What are we doing? Go get Shohei. I don't know why this isn't being brought up either. Bring in Aaron Loup. That's 3 birds in one stone. You get a reliever, you get a lefty, you get a DH, and you get another deep starter for the playoffs.
The Mets and the Angels would be a match similar to the way the Mets are with the Red Sox. Now, look, Ohtani's going to obviously cost you a lot. I would do it. Is there a team out there that wouldn't give up their top 5 prospects for Shohei Ohtani or Juan Soto? The issue with Soto on the Mets is that the Nationals are not going to trade him within the division. Obviously, the news today is the Nats are going to try to extend him again. Good for them. Let the Nats work out Soto. He's not coming to the Mets anyway this particular year. Yankees, like I said, maybe a different story. Who knows? We'll see how that plays out. Shohei Ohtani, he should be fair game. If the Angels are looking to potentially move him and are taking offers, yes, what do you want? Here you go. Yeah, end of story.
Everything.
That's the piece. Can you imagine the Yankees or Mets getting Shohei Ohtani by Tuesday at that 6 p.m. deadline, how this town would be? That's the home run move. Hey, if the Dodgers could do it with Mookie Betts or Max Scherzer and Trey Turner, why can't the Mets or Yankees do it? If the Angels are putting him up, realistically putting him up, go freaking get him.
Everything. The house. I agree. And sign him, too.
Well, I mean, you can worry about that at a later date, and I like the idea of Aaron Loop, and thanks for the call, Ken. But I'm not even saying that you have to do that. Now, that would be a big boy move. That's okay, here we are. We are making a legitimate run at the World Series. Oh, by the way, and more, because that's also about entertainment and ticket sales and all that stuff. But the guy's a great player, a generational player, maybe once-in-a-lifetime player in Shohei Ohtani. I mean, the Mets could even use him out of the bullpen, for goodness sake. Yankees obviously would use him differently. But if he's available and if you're a team or an organization that is worth anything, you go get him. Do whatever you can to get him. But I'm not even saying that for the Mets because they could win a World Series without him. Obviously, that makes it, a lot more fun and you would think easier, a guy that can hit and pitch the way that he can. But they have other quality options out there. What's the holdup? And by the way, we'll talk to my colleague over at SNY, Andy Martino, coming up at 4 o'clock, get the latest on everything Mets and Yankees at the trade deadline, the expectations, what are the rumors and rumblings and all that stuff. So we'll talk to him at 4 o'clock and actually get some insight as opposed to just, using common sense here. Why wouldn't the Mets go to the Red Sox and try to get JD Martinez and Vasquez? Why are they focused on just Wilson Contreras? Is it because of David Robertson? Can they do that separately than Contreras? Maybe they could give up a little bit less. And also, why are they so hell-bent on holding on to all these prospects in a year where they have a great chance to win a World Series? I'm not saying you got to give up everybody if it's not for Juan Soto or Shohei Ohtani, but, you got to hold on to Ronnie Mauricio for what? Mark Vientos for what? If you don't think these guys can come up immediately and contribute, and I wouldn't think the Mets could, because where was Vientos early in the year when they were in desperate need of some life in that lineup? They just keep rolling out Dom Smith and J.D. Davis. What are they doing? Mike in Bayonne. What's up, Mike?
Hey, what's going on, Sal? How you doing today?
How are you?
I'm good. Hey, listen, last night when I saw this trade come across, the first thing that came to my mind was, okay, it's a depth piece, And then I sit there and I'm thinking about it, and I'm like, man, this cannot be it, And to be honest with you,
well, that's not it. That's a minor move.
We all know we got a couple more days to go, but these two moves, and if I just sit there and I think about it, this has Sandy Alderson written all over it, And to be honest with you, I think Sandy Alderson has a little bit too much of an influence on what Epler's doing right now, because if this team really wants to go for it, Sal, to hell with prospects. Just go for it and make the bang move.
Well, and make sure you make the right move. Who's the dopes who traded Pete Crow Armstrong? And look, he's not here anymore with Zach Scott. So that doesn't mean that the new guys are going to make that same mistake, trading a good prospect. The idea would be to trade the one that you think is least likely to have success at the major league level. But don't get caught up in the Tyler Naquin deal, which, look, here's why I like that move, because it shows you the Mets are looking to upgrade every which way possible. They have a good roster. It's funny, the same thing with the Yankees. Everybody's like, oh, they got to upgrade the team. I got to upgrade the team. When you actually break it down, there are only a handful of spots or a handful of players that you can upgrade on the current roster. So with the Mets, and I like Jankowski, solid guy, fourth outfield or fifth outfield or whatever, going to pinch run late, but he can't hit. And if you could get Tyler Naquin, who's a proven major league player who can run, he can field, he can hit a little bit, he's replacing Jankowski. It's not even close. So yeah, I feel bad for Jankowski, but the Mets upgraded, whether it's the last spot on the roster or not. It was an upgrade. That's obviously not the move.
Now, how about this, Sal? Now, I know you mentioned Mancini. Now, what if we were to go out and get Contreras and Robertson and then add Mancini? I think that would be I would be ecstatic.
Right now,
to get all three of them guys. To be honest with you.
Well, I think you're onto something, and thanks for the call, Mike. If they are to go get Contreras or a catcher, they still need the DH, right? So that's to your point about, if they do this, if they get Contreras, why can't they get Mancini? Or vice versa, maybe they get Mancini, and then their DH spot goes Mancini and Vogelback, and then they go get a catcher. The problem with that scenario, which, by the way, I wouldn't have a big issue with, but the problem with it is that Contreras isn't a catcher. He's not a good defensive catcher by all accounts. Now, I don't know. I'm not watching him every day, but I'm hearing stuff. And look, we had Omar Minaya on the Baseball Night in New York show that I do on SNY yesterday, and he doesn't seem to think it's an issue. But all the other stuff that I'm hearing does seem to point toward it's an issue with Contreras catching. They wouldn't want him to be the primary catcher. I get that nobody's an everyday player anymore. For the most part, guys aren't everyday players anymore, but they would want him to be the upgrade at DH potentially and catch a little bit because they are concerned about the way he calls a game or handles the staff, all those. That's red flags to me. I want a catcher. You know what? I'd rather just have a guy whose defense, I don't care if he hits a lick. I want a defensive catcher that's a stud defensively. Now, they don't have that with Tomas Nido or James McCann. They're okay. They're better defensively, clearly, than they are offensively. And you'd like to upgrade, but I don't want Contreras if he's going to be a problem. If you can't start Contreras in the postseason at catcher, that's an issue. But yes, ideally, you'd want to upgrade catcher and DH. So if you do a deal for Mancini, which I wouldn't think is going to cost a lot, you could also do a deal for Robertson and Contreras. I wouldn't hate it. I'd be concerned because I don't look at Contreras as a catcher. I look at him more as a DH. And the more that you hear about it, that's how the Mets view things. So it doesn't seem like it would be both. It's one or the other. And now they're trying to back down and say, well, if we don't. I mean, why is somebody already laying the groundwork for disappointment? I don't want to hear that crap. Steve Cohen's the owner. Mets are in first place. Mets are one of the best teams in baseball. They just swept the Yankees. They should be ready to take off now. Take it on the Marlins, take it on the Nationals, and then a huge 5-game series with the Braves. Jacob deGrom coming back, potentially Trevor May. They should be looking to pull away. Rocket launch is about to happen this next week. Trade deadline, they add the reinforcements, and already a story comes out from the Post that the Mets are prepared to rely on Vientos in case they don't get it. What? Get the hell out of here. What year is this?